I'm not suicidal. History is not a collection of facts. It is a crime scene where the evidence is being scrubbed in real time by the people who held the weapons. We need to talk about why some graves are treated like monuments and others are treated like pavements. And I'm not trying to compare pain or minimize the Holocaust, but if Jewish people can get Hitler seen by the world as the villain that he is, how come black people can't get their own Hitler, or Middle Easterns, or indigenous people? Why can't black people get the founder of the KKK, or the creator of fucking slavery, or Middle Easterns get Benjamin Netanyahu as their version of Hitler, or indigenous people get Christopher Columbus as their Hitler? Why is Adolf Hitler himself the only villain getting recognition in the history books? And the truth is, Hitler is the world's favorite villain because he committed his atrocities against Europeans on European soil. The world decided he was the ultimate villain only when the victims looked like the people writing the textbooks. But when the victims are black, brown, or indigenous, the monsters who butchered them get statues. They get holidays. They get celebrated. They get nuance and complexity instead of the condemnation they earned. Columbus did not discover jack shit. He didn't discover a goddamn thing. Okay? Christopher Columbus did not discover anything. He was not some heroic superhero. He brought a virus of greed that wiped out millions, yet we give children a day off in his name. The architects of the transatlantic slave trade and the KKK did not just commit a crime. They engineered a 400-year soul-crushing industry that still breathes today. Yet their names are buried under the generic label of founding fathers or explorers. Netanyahu can preside over the systemic erasure of a people, and the world calls it defense, while the bodies of children and women pile up in the sand. And the root of the problem is that Western history is a narcissist. It only recognizes evil when that evil threatens the West's own image. If you're black, Middle Eastern, or indigenous, your Hitler is often the very person the West tells you to admire. You're forced to walk on streets named after the men who raped your ancestors. You're forced to use the currency featuring the faces of the people who bought and sold your lineage like cattle. This is the psychological torture of the oppressed. Being told your trauma is not unique enough to warrant its own legendary villain. It's a way of gaslighting entire races into believing their pain is just a footnote. You gotta stop waiting for the curriculum to validate your scars. Name the demons yourselves. Stop letting them sanitize the creators of slavery as mere businessmen. We call Columbus what the fuck he is, a genocidal mercenary. He's a fucking demon. We see the current bloodletting in the Middle East not as a political conflict, but as the same old monstrous thirst for land and dominance. We heal by refusing to let them define what evil looks like. If they're not gonna put the other Hitlers in the history books like Netanyahu or James McCord or all the European colonizers, you gotta write your own books. We write our own books. Speak their names with the same venom the world uses for the 1940s, because a body in the dirt is a body in the dirt, regardless of whether the hand that put it there was wearing a swastika or a crown or a kippah. This is the only way to break the spell, by recognizing that the villains are still running the press and the media, and the only way to stop the cycle is to stop asking the predator to tell the story of the hunt. You have to acknowledge that the reason these other Hitlers aren't in the books is not just an oversight, it's a requirement for the system to keep functioning. If the world admitted that the creators of slavery or the architects of colonization or the Israeli government were the moral equivalent of Hitler, then the entire foundation of the modern West, its banks, its universities, its government buildings, would have to be treated like active crime scenes. By keeping Hitler as the only face of ultimate evil, the system creates a safety zone. It allows people to say, well, as long as it isn't that specific brand of evil, it's just complicated history. It allows them to fund wars and genocides and ignore reparations because they've convinced the masses that unless there are gas chambers, it's not a Holocaust. They use the memory of one tragedy to silence the reality of yours.